What's good?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm all right, man. How you been?
Mm, You know,
I shouldn't ask,
it's madness, madness. You don't know like what's gonna happen in the future. You know what I'm saying?
bro. If this ain't the testimony of that, I don't know what is.
For real. It's I think the last time that we met was like the week before.
Is the only, what do you mean the last time we met? It's the only time we met.
Right? Yeah. When we met at that show, that was our last time that we saw physical people.
Yo, seriously, that was the last. Well, that was the last. Even then, yo, I don't know if you felt the same, but after that show, I was like, it just felt so weird.
Right?
People rushed out the show. People were afraid to shake hands.
Yes, yes. That show was like, we shouldn't be here right now. you know?
And I was like, really? Like, and I guess maybe because I was like on the road beforehand, so like maybe there was like things in the news that were telling people like just to be careful, and I wasn't hearing that.
Right.
But I'm there. The host of the event had like sanitizer everywhere.
Yes.
It was like she was really like, and even like I think because we were up in Cleveland, there was
Yes.
nothing. I know a lot of the scare was like back in where was it? I think it was. I don't think it was anywhere near Cleveland. I think it was like in New York that got like the first like scare of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, why is I've heard. I mean, I didn't even know how big of a deal this could be, but she was freaking out, and I was just like, after the show and during the show, I just like I could tell people were scared.
Yep. Yep. It was a very tense vibe. I remember having a cough that weekend or something like that. Like, and it was nothing crazy. I knew it wasn't anything, but like when you start singing or sometimes, because I think I had done like 2 shows before that, and my vocals were just had mucus in them because it was getting cold and whatever, or it was coming out of the cold. And I was like, whole time while I was watching your performance, I was like, don't cough.
Oh my god,
Just like, oh, it was such a weird time. So,
it was right because literally, so I was supposed to go to Chicago right after that, and oh my god, it was crazy. So I was heading to Chicago. My car broke down.
no.
Yeah, it was sucks because I had to dish out some money, and I was like, I'm gonna miss the show because it's like there's no way I could get up there on time. But I was so lucky that there was like an like emergency roadside like shop nearby that like they had us fixed and back on the road really fast. I was like, great, we're gonna make it. And then we got a call and said they have to cancel the show because of the um just the limits of how many people could be in a room
Right.
together.
Right.
And I was just like,
How far
and
did y'all get along? Where did y'all end up? Where did the car end up breaking down?
we were like halfway there. So we were. How far is Cleveland from Chicago?
It's like 6, 7 hours.
We were like 3 or 4 hours out.
Wow. So y'all were like Indiana, Indiana, Michigan.
We were right. We were passing Elkhart, Indiana. I
Oh, yep.
remember.
Yep.
And and then and I'm like but even then I was I was like man, if it's gonna feel, I just can't. I can never ever forget that moment on Cleveland, and like I'm so happy. So I was supposed to do 10 shows through so far, and I only got to do the one, which was with you at Cleveland.
Whoa, because that was your first hit. I do
Yeah,
remember that.
and
Jeez.
it sucked, but I'm so glad that I met you there, because
Right.
your was incredible, and like
Right.
it's very I don't know if you feel the same way, but I know for myself it's very rare that I meet someone that's like uh that feels like I
I know. Yeah.
and I was just like I get this guy already.
Right. Right.
um
Saying when I saw your setup, I was like, okay, I know what's going on.
when I was there too, and that's what I don't know if you've had a similar experience, but I was still experimenting with things then, and so when I came home, I got another, I got a chance to kind of like just work on my setup a little more and fine tune some other things that because I'm always constantly trying to go to a show and exist in a physical, space, that I got a chance to kind of slow down, look at some things that need to be polished out. So that kind of came of it, but
That's
is
tight.
you
Did you
know.
were you practicing a lot like right off the bat, or did it take you some time to get into it?
Um,
Once quarantine started.
um, I would I want to say it was kind of right away because I was only thinking this is only gonna last like 2 weeks.
Right. Oh yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
More wrong, but like, um, yeah, I was just, I was like, all right, got 2 weeks, 2 weeks of nothing. I'll get home. I'm gonna just like work on some things, polish up some things, get back. So like, but actually, I would say after those like that week or 2 week, I was like, now I got to figure out what to do financially. Now I got to figure out so many other things that kind of took me away from that moment of like, let me get in my like my bubble mode.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in this bubble mode and just create and just doing that, but then it was like so much other things, let alone the civil unrest, that's happening, that
Mm-hmm.
happened here, but like there was just so much that took away from that. So I had that spark in the beginning. It kind of got put out, and then I came back and just said like, this is what I have no choice but to do because
Mm-hmm.
I can't do shows right now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were
But
doing live stream shows a little bit before I got around to it, and I was like, all right, he's still out here able to do some stuff. you
yeah,
know?
that was a such a learning curve, and I still
Yeah.
am. Like even today, and I think also too it kind of because I don't get show anxiety in terms of like I'm nervous to perform, but I get like, how can we make this incredible? How can we make
Right.
this very special for the people?
Right.
Um, so even like in a real world sense, I'm like, okay, should I bring out this song? Should I bring out that instrument? Is the lighting gonna be good? Is the sound gonna be good? So and especially when as an independent artist, a lot of things I do are kind of DIY sometimes, so I'm kind of hands on a lot of things. So like so in the same sense, even now when I was about to hop on this call with you now, and actually I don't think this might be the first time I'm using Google Meet, maybe second.
Oh, word. Yeah, it's a
So
little different. Yeah, it's a little different animal than Zoom, but
uh
it's got some basic features that work.
yeah, I'm sure it's a lot like everything else, but I was just
Right.
like, oh, but this could probably work with the computer. So if it works with the computer, maybe I could set up my DSLR camera. Maybe I can make the
Ooh.
like
Yep.
special, look really high def. But I'm like, uh, why am I going overboard? I
Right.
don't know what sometimes it's like that, but anyways, I did figure out like if I want to make this super high def and make this an experience, I know different ways to do that. I think now I don't know if I
Mm.
know the way, but ways that are a little better than the norm. Better than just pulling up my phone and having that experience, because that's what kind of takes and that kind of hurt me right away because everyone was asking, yo, you should go live, you should do this. Everyone's going live and doing these streamings, and to me, I'm like, how does that? How does music coming out of a little speaker like this on your phone and a little screen like this compared to a
A live experience.
doesn't and
I know.
people don't I don't think people realize that, and maybe I think it serves a purpose, I definitely do, uh but I can't substitute it, I can't I gotta and then I've been in some live streams where it's cool. The biggest thing is the cool people. So like
Right.
that's why I'm excited to be on this with you because you're good
Right.
people.
Right.
People. and is it creative?
Right.
Because sometimes people are hopping on live just to hop on live, and it's kind of distracting. It's not really anything that's thought up. I think what's the purpose of it.
Ooh, I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, because I find that live performances have this energy that goes from the artist is more intentional because they have people looking at them for direct feedback, right? So, but when you're just going into a camera and just doing whatever, I feel like it's easy to get sloppy because it's like, well, I'm just in my room. And
Yeah,
also, I find like if I'm watching live streams, it's tough for me to watch live streams because I'm like, I'd rather be on a different website that I'm always on. You know what I'm saying? It's so many distractions on the computer. It doesn't feel like it's like a actual live experience where you're looking at it on a screen. It feels like it's just another website that you tuned into, especially if it was on like Facebook Live or Instagram Live or whatever. That's
right. Where you can't have any control or of what how it's gonna go.
right, and it's on a platform that's built for you to scroll. It's built for multiple, people, multiple opportunities to get like stimulation. So it's tough. It's tough.
That's why, like, I mean, Twitch has been very interesting.
Hmm.
It's all very weird because it's kind of I felt that way for a while just with social media in general. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so you know when things started off, YouTube, like, I don't show my age, but like YouTube, when YouTube was popping off, before YouTube we had LimeWire. Before
Right.
then YouTube
I was there too.
YouTube was the SoundCloud of
Yes.
today, where it's like you could share for free, you could connect with people for free, and you can do this yourself. So it's empowering in that sense. Same thing goes when Instagram came around, Facebook came around, but now, you know, I have not only do I have to worry about how do I stand out as a musician, but I have to stand out as a person because now everybody's my mom is probably more socially active on that platform than I am. Um, and I start to realize that there's no filter, there's no sifting out of like content,
Hmm.
and so I think Twitch is nice because like you have like a standard, standards getting pushed, to the next level. People are designing their format, they're designing their in terms of the storyline, how's the experience really going to go?
Hmm.
But I think this is an interesting time though, because that's something that kind of like was inevitable. And I think people are realizing we should have been thinking about ahead of time, but now we just have been catapulted into um, this digital world right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've really been enjoying T Pain's live streams on
Yeah.
Twitch. I'm like, yo, this is so genuine. I do like
I don't
this.
have his live things, I don't think.
He just goes on Twitch and he plays a video game and he just talks about life. And because he was like a very successful entertainment industry musician, like he just a lot of the times he's given like these golden nuggets of what happens behind that golden veil of the music
Oh,
industry.
T Pain's a man, yo. I'm telling you, like people don't give him enough credit, but he's so in touch.
I agree.
Uh, I gotta watch that because I became. I think maybe I was just showing somebody. Have you ever seen that YouTube video of T Pain? It was with Funny or Die, where he's arguing with the vocoder.
No.
Oh, look up. I think if you look up like T Pain versus vocoder, you see like he kind of acts out this like comedy sketch, and I'm like, that's cool, like especially at a time where like people like um kind of uh saying that his maybe say implying that his music's dumbed down or just
Right.
that tune auto tune is fake, it's so it was like a funny way of him addressing it, and like from there I was like, okay, he's culturally in touch. You know, he's not just like which that's what I think in the pop world I I think I fear a little bit. I think that like are these people really there because like they care about more than just like money and fame and just like accolades, or do they really they're really in touch with people and culture. So like that when I seen that, well, that was like back in like 2011 or 12. I was
Mm.
like, T cool, man. T-Pain's dope. And so I've seen a lot of like little interviews of him. So that sounds like a perfect thing to watch is T-Pain going off on Twitch.
That's what he does, and I think he does it. He does it on a very consistent basis too. So he has all of these short videos that he just puts up on YouTube. I'm like, this man is the goat for real. And his tiny desk is underrated. Or
Yeah,
maybe not be underrated. I think a lot of people I talk to are like, yo, that
I
tiny desk was flame
it set it off to
for
me. It felt
real.
like because like I think there were Tiny Desks before him. I would love to see like what was the timeline, what was before him, because that was for me. That was one of my first experiences. Like I think what made me see that was that people were like, "Oh, this is T Pain singing without autotune." So, but then you realize, oh, this is a platform this is like MTV Unplugged all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so his that I don't know if it's underrated or overrated, but that was incredible.
Yeah,
And,
some these tiny desk performances are really inspirational. The first one that really got me was Tank and the Bangers.
mm,
That was unreal. And then
that, did that come out recently though? I can't remember
nah,
when.
that was like when they first started doing the competition for like
Cause they
just regular musicians. They won.
okay, okay.
Yup.
Which I went to go see them there, and I can see. I think we're both on the same page why we would love Tiny Desk.
I know.
Um, but I seen Tank the Bangers at Newport Jazz Festival before the pandemic. It was the summer before the pandemic, and like to me that was like, yo, like you know, they came up so fast, and like to me that's a crazy accomplishment. I think also because I'm in the hip hop and R&B realm, and so Common was headlining at that festival too.
Mm,
Like this is a hip hop artist from Chicago so far, which we've been running through a lot. They came up
mm.
through desk, and I think it's interesting too because I see a lot of hip hop artists that have been, at least for the live performances, incorporating the musicianship, this live music aspect, like the Phony People.
Oh yeah, love phony people, bro.
You see their Tiny Desk with Meg the Stallion,
Yeah.
like that's dope as hell, and like
Like
to have I think that um it just gives people, to me, I think it's just like uh we can see the smoke and mirrors. We see the smoke and mirrors without looking. This just put in our face sometimes. Like, let's take Meg Thee Stallion for example. All the things that are so, this bubble of like just kind of fame and everything that's like in this box is thrown at you all the time. But like when you see something that's like a little more intimate, that's like a little more real, you're still amazed by that talent, by that, by everything. The songs, they're the same songs, but like now you start to look at them in a human sense. So I think that's kind of what even like MTV Unplugged did. And that being said, I think that for you and I, that's a place that I know for myself I like to live in because I I used to rap to tracks. I produced my tracks, but I used to rap to tracks. And then I stopped doing that. And I remember one time somebody asked me, I think it actually might have been during this quarantine. Somebody asked me, I was like, I don't think I've rapped to a track in 6 years, because I'm just so used to doing it live. You know, I kind of don't want to go back, and I think it's just more so I don't want to be smoking mirrors. I want you to see that I'm behind all these things. I want to see you. You know, I want to show you all these things being created. I think.
Right. And also I want to give real time responses or real time like expression, you know? I don't want it to be the same every time.
I've found things in my own music. I remember once I was doing a live performance and I started just like I was just jamming out. I did a I did like a mashup of Tupac, um, I Ain't Mad at You,
Hmm.
and I started doing my own one of my own originals over it, and I was like, this message fits so perfect over the thing, and it was on the spot. And if I if I was just doing the tracks, I would never discover that. I would never find like, oh, that'd be cool to incorporate into a set another time from now.
Right.
Um, the live, uh, yeah, the live, and I think I think there's also like take Michael Jackson. You know, he has a level of showmanship. I think there's also that where you gotta polish up what you're doing to kind of give a to kind of give exactly what you're intending to the audience. But especially now where I know for myself I'm kind of growing in it. I want to experience it all. I want to feel it all. I want to feel I want to feel the tug and tug. I want to feel when I do something that's messed up. I want to feel that too. I want to do it now when I can get real responses rather than later when you're gonna get a bunch of like I like that, but not real like I like that. I felt what you were doing there.
Right, right. Cuz I think on two levels that fits because on one level like if you the more success you get, the more people just assume your music's good because you've had success, you know, and they don't even listen anymore. So it's like what was this for? You know, like all of those tours, those big tours, Beyonce and Anderson Paak and all that. They do these big. Tank and the Bangers did not do this. They had live stuff, but they just like the Anderson Paak and Beyonce. They have live musicians playing, but it's all tracks. And no
Right.
one really cares because I mean we're there for the superstar hype. Like we want to get hype looking at you. We don't want to listen to music, which there's a place for that, and that's okay. But
Right.
on this level, it's cool because um, it's one thing that I like about live shows is I'm going and I'm seeing this person set up their instrument. I'm seeing them walk up to the thing. I'm seeing them process their. You know, you see the humanness of the music, which is such a cool thing to see. And I think that's one thing that the digital hasn't learned how to replace yet. Now that once people are starting to become more comfortable being online, I guess, and showing themselves, we're getting that a little bit more. Um, but one thing I liked about that Megan Thee Stallion performance is that that's one of the first times we saw in a digital form like how real she is on stage or can be on stage. She has a whole nother act which is serves a different purpose. But on it was like, yo, she's talking to the people. You see her
Oh
look
yeah.
nervous for a second, you know? And then she's like, all right, you see her joke with the band, and then they go. And then you can see her get into her zone. And it's like, yo, that was tight. That's why you like live performances. The rawness of it.
The real interactions and like there's in New York there's so much of that. There's so much of like so and so who plays bass with so and so is on stage with so and so who plays drums with so and so, and then this singer that's like on the on the come up that's got a feature with so and they're all in the same room. They're all like interacting. And actually a lot of times that's like for a lot of them that's the first time they're meeting. Maybe that might be there's so all these interactions. There's a spot. It's not there anymore. It used to be called the Velvet Lounge. No, what's the Velvet Lounge? Um, or was it? Dang, I can't remember what it was. I think it was the Velvet Lounge. It was Velvet something, but it used to be a spot like it was like an open mic kind of open jam format, and you see all these like incredibly talented people, but they're right there in front of you, and they're walking to the stage. They're walking back to sit and watch everybody else. They're in the crowd with you. Um, and maybe it's a bias because we're both in the music world, but I think to anybody that's a musician, a music fan, because I think we're both fans too at the same time. So like seeing that is just like, oh man, that's not impossible.
Mm.
That's not. It's inspiring because a lot of times you see, let's take Britney Spears. You're like, I can never be that. I can never do that. I've never seen the steps in between. So it had to come from either um, privilege, some type of something was set up to get her there, or she just really has all this like super duper talent, like something that she has, I don't, so I can't get there. But then when you see it in live, you start to realize like you start to feel and see exactly what that is. And I love watching documentaries where people talk about their experiences, like Coltrane when he talks about when he went to go see Charlie Parker, like,
Mm.
and how that changed his. That's how he. That's what changed him. Like, I remember hearing about, um, I think it was, I want to say it was Louis Armstrong and how he was just going to. I hope it was Louis Armstrong I'm thinking of, but he's going to all these clubs in New Orleans and going to clubs in New York, um and how that inspired him. Different stories like that is like shows you the footwork, the real work behind you know that one moment that that people only see for a moment, but there's so much work behind it, so much real application behind it.
The process. It's it was just them going and following their joy for music or following their passion to create something and just continuing to be on that, being that, and then eventually it's seen as a finished product. But it's something that you're just capturing them being in their process, and that's all it is. It's interesting. I do like those documentaries for that reason too. Sometimes I gotta pace myself on these documentaries because I
Yeah.
watch a documentary and be like, oh, so stupid. Why didn't you do that? But it's very inspiring to see because it's I like to see there's these few videos on YouTube of Robert Glasper in like LA or something like that, and you see like Don Cheeto get on stage. You see all the cats just get on stage and jam. And Robert Glasper's up there with like some like a gin and tonic or something like that, goofing off, and then he sits at the keyboard, plays the most craziest thing, and then gets back up and just jokes around and does like a freestyle battle with Don Cheeto. I'm like, okay, that's what it's about then. That's
Right.
what can happen. It can still just be a raw thing.
Since you're bringing it up, like Robert Glasper has been incredible in kind of breaking that barrier, that fourth wall when it comes to, especially in the jazz world. Like I remember seeing like an Instagram post of just like Common goofing around with Glasper, and like I'm sure you've seen that too.
He's
Like
like, oh, you got excited.
like especially like uh think about like Duke Ellington, right? Duke Ellington, I think he, a big role he played was like this, like he was a TV personality too. He was
Mm,
like, for at that time, and even as much insight as you had, it still was a there still was a facade built. There's no way at that time that you can ever film what you're filming today.
mm,
There's no way to show all those, like, imagine you couldn't show Duke Ellington fooling around with so and so, like, on those cameras back then. Like, maybe if people had home video, eventually we have camcorders and stuff. It's just now we all have it, and I guess what it is that um we all in all genres, we all have this new experience with technology. So with where jazz sometimes wants to, or has in the past wants to have this kind of avant-garde kind of feel and aesthetic where it's like it kind of and that's what I think a lot of people have been talking about is just how jazz can become like classical where it's like where you play all the standards, you play them exactly how they were supposed to be played, you learn all these things, and by doing that you take away the humanity of each individual learning about this like thing. And I forgot somebody said it, but like just talking about how the people that were making the music then that were in those jazz clubs then, they weren't completely uh you know trying to do what the last person did. They were living, they were having fun, they were everything. And like maybe some a little too much fun, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like that they were in the moment. They were they were spontaneous. They these processed musicians, and I think that's a hard part about now because we have so much access to information,
Oh.
but we don't just like here's a good example. I had a leaky bathroom faucet and I had to change it. So I go on YouTube how to change the leaky sink in my bathroom. And I'm not going to go to page 85 of YouTube. I'm going through the first 5 or 10 videos that are right there. Imagine how many other people that have had the same experience, did the same thing, ended up looking at the same guy, telling them the same thing, and doing it the same way. Meanwhile, there's probably someone on number 22 that's going to tell you how to make this, I don't know, some other way, whatever. That probably is the guy. But like, we don't have these because of the information era, I think it's harder to find um and especially when things are kind of um optimized to be put on in front of you first, it's hard to have these individualized experiences because we're all for a lot of things we're all having the same experience and thinking that it's not. So like, I know for myself there's times where like, I was coming and like I love Windows by Chick Corea. I love that standard. A lot of people that study Chick Corea, a lot of people that stand. I know a lot of people that I grew up with didn't, but like that's not that's not the same as like I felt something, I created something from scratch, and I did this. I think that those, and that's where it's kind of like digging for gold. That's where you find the gold when you're in your individualized experience and you're really feeling it and you're really experiencing and you're really looking for stuff. So maybe I think that could be um a negative maybe of this information era where we don't have um where we have to kind of sift through things a little more, I think.
Yeah. You have to sift through things, and also you have to live up, or you're in your mind, you have these expectations that you need to be up to a certain standard. You need to follow this road. You need to have this bebop scale memorized, or this standard memorized in this form from the monk version, or whatever. You need to have, or you need to make sure you have this DSLR camera with
Yes.
these perfect lights. It needs to be
I'm
formatted with the thumbnail. It needs to have everyone's following the same format because those top 5 suggestions is what everybody's looking for. If it's gonna be good, it's gonna look like that. And
Yes.
so as soon as you box that up and try and like duplicate it, I think that's when you put it in its coffin. That's kind of how I've applied it to classical music. Cause I don't a lot of like back in the day, even like those people from Western Europe weren't even trying to repeat what people were doing before, like we do now. It wasn't like that. Everybody was just out here making music.
You can't like Bach. You can't be looking at something else and create music every day like the way that he was, like as much as he was. You can't.
No,
You can't be studying while you're doing that.
no. You're just in your element and you're just creating. And actually, people thought he was crazy. Like he had his kids. Like his kids were famous, more famous than he was. They just thought
Right.
he was this crazy old guy still making boom bap raps and you living in 2020. Why are you still making boom rap? You know, it's like, and then
Right.
back in then like what 50 years or 100 years after, people found his music and was like, this is the best music that we've ever heard. And it's like,
And it
okay,
absolutely at that time, like
and now we put him on a pedestal of like, if it sounds good, it's going to sound like all the rules that we found in his music, which weren't rules for him. He just kind of made them up.
right. It's funny too, like when you think about it, like I think there was a lot of with his music. They talked a lot about um uh how he was always using three. He had a lot of his music was written for the church.
Yep.
I have conversations with that with my homie who's a painter. A lot of the artists back then. Think about artists and musicians now. They're commissioned by like big brand names. Let's say Pepsi, right? But back then, Pepsi, like the churches were like Pepsi.
Correct.
Had all everything. They were booking
Correct.
artists, musicians. So Bach was like he was writing for the church and doing so much, but a lot of his um there were a lot of like these divine numbers in his
Mm.
music. And if you look at it now and you take like have you ever seen like people just doing these rhythm breakdowns and stuff, just like really focused on numbers and like to somebody else like you're crazy, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. You're a weirdo. Like why are you so like wrapped up in this like you're crazy, right? But versus like someone who's just like, no, I really I wanted to write a song about my daughter. I wrote this song and I don't know if it sounds so good, but I just really it's really emotional. That guy's not so crazy, but we want to follow the crazy guy. The crazy guy with the guy with that crazy mindset set the standard. I mean, ultimately, what he was doing musically was incredible, but we still have to acknowledge the human things too. So,
Right.
no, I don't know what's right or wrong, but I think it's kind of interesting. I think it's interesting. Even Kanye, right? Kanye's a good example of
Yep.
like you hear all the stories of like his come up and how he was like, just in
Yep.
people's face and just like he was crazy.
Yep.
And uh uh we kind of we put him on a pedestal. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. To me, like those are still like I still look up to Bach. I still look up to Ye,
To yay, I say.
you
Yeah.
know.
It's-
But uh,
Also, the path to success is not their path. You don't follow their path and you're gonna be successful. It's like they had that path and
yes,
it's not gonna work again. So don't follow it. But
no,
you can study it so you can learn because you're a fan, you enjoy it, and you want to get inspiration. But you can't follow it because it
I
won't
had
work.
I had this conversation. So like I'm a huge Stevie Wonder fan.
Oh man.
And my homie that I grew up with, we still work together now. He's a painter. I was just saying, he's a big Michael Jackson fan. We always just say, we're Michael and Stevie. We're at this. But like, we're not anything close to them. Like, I'm not blind. I wasn't signed to Motown Records at the age of 10 or
Yeah.
11, whatever. Like, I don't have um, what do you call it? I don't have Barry Gordy on my in my ear telling me what to do. We especially like me and him. I didn't have too much background in this. I didn't have too much resources. I kind of just loved it, took it seriously once I got older, and try to figure it out. Like there's not, and I have to start to and once you start to acknowledge, like I'll never forget. I got to go to study over in Italy for this summer jazz uh, program, and there were international students. A lot of them were from like Denmark, Germany, mostly Europe. There's one guy from like Cuba, I remember. But this was like very prestigious, and I got to go because I went on tour with my school there, and we were invited back, and I didn't have to audition to be in it either. So I was like, this is a good opportunity. Let me go. And then I got there, there were jazz goats. Like there were like some people there that were that were running the classes that are number one jazz artists today. Like and um I wasn't that privy to like the jazz scene at that point. So like I'm like I don't know. I'm just like whatever. So and I'm in these classes with kids that are like savants. They're like they've been in conservatories since they were like 11 for jazz. I only started, really getting a grasp of jazz theory and history until I, got towards my end of high school into college, and uh, and I remember being overwhelmed and almost, disappointed. I'm like, man, I got a lot to do as a sax player. But then I stopped and I thought, and I was like, nobody in here raps. Nobody in here
Right.
listens to what I listen to,
Right.
and I started to like after once I looked at it like that, I was like, oh, I don't have to put all this weight on it. I don't. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Like as long as I come out here better with some new skills, like I don't have to be the best in class. Like, even if I tried, I couldn't because they have different backgrounds of mine. That doesn't
Right.
mean just don't try to do anything. I definitely worked my ass off when I was there, but I also acknowledge like where I came from too, and um and then fast forward, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago, somebody from the school, he's a pianist that someone I just met out there. He hit me up and said, I have me and my band, we got together. We're working on a album and we wanted you to rap over one of the tracks. And that was like to be,
Wow.
long story short, it was
Wow.
incredible. Like to have a song that was released in Italy that
Right.
was um, like it all just felt so good and
Mm.
like something did come of that. It wasn't just like this was just so I think it's just important to really um you know and not even just with music, just like same thing, especially with I think with our age, with our era, is like you need to buy a house now, you need to
Yeah.
buy you need to be married now, you need to do all these things, and like the climate may not is very different now, and also on top of that, what I'm going through personally might not be the same as what my peers are. So I can't just um make decisions based off what's happening, um, uh, with other people's lives. So I think musically that's very important. Just like knowledge of self. That's hip hop in a nutshell. Knowledge of self. So.
For real. For real. And also the opportunity out of being excluded from something or not having access to something. There's opportunity in you sort of figuring it out on it in itself. The essence of hip hop was just, hey, I have this, and
Right.
let me just make something work with this. And that's the rawness that I think um, a lot of people are attracted to in their creative process. I mean, especially in hip hop, but it's just like, let me make something that takes me to my highest form with whatever I have. Let me just make whatever I have work. And when you try and um, get it to a certain standard, you're not really operating within the rules of like, just take whatever I have and take it to a high standard. It's like, let me see what I don't have and let me just try and get everything so I can make that happen, which kind of takes away all the fun. Takes away all the fun. So, you know, I think that's cool that you did that. I wish a lot of youth were able to get that lesson in their schools,
Yeah.
because instead of being like, because I know it a lot of times it may be music school, but also maybe math class or whatever, it's taught, okay, well, you didn't come here, you weren't as good as everybody else, so now you need to practice. You need to make up for all their other life experiences that they've had, put them in your life right now so that you can get just as good, if not better. And it's like, well, why do we just focus on what I have and trying to make myself like them versus like focus on the things that you have, and then the things that you don't have, just leave them and move
Right.
in a different direction. How can we guide our, education or our paths in lives to let that be okay? Have that breathing room. It's important.
And
It's all, yeah,
I think even like, cause but even teachers, some teachers don't know, don't have that perspective of like, okay, they might think like, okay, this guy's failing math class. The social study teacher told me he's failing that. Like, he ain't gonna be anything, you know. But like, you know, they also don't have the perspective of someone who's like Basquiat. You know what I mean? You don't have
Right.
the perspective of someone who's like Denzel Washington. Like, you know, maybe there's something, you know, and also even then, it's like I think that there's a lot of pressure put on people in general. I think that's kind of like a scary thing to know, but it's so true that you can literally, especially now in our information age, kind of, you can it's hard, but you can make a shift and make a decision. If I wanted today, say, okay, I want to be a carpenter,
Yeah, you can learn it.
I, I can shift, make things happen, and I can do that. You know, if I'm really passionate, really focused on it, I can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to know that when I'm 17 years old
Mm-hmm.
and you know, while I'm trying to like uh, find some girlfriends and figure out when I'm gonna drink and things like, you know, there's so many other things happening in your life that like, you know, that pressure of like you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this can sometimes be overwhelming, and a lot of times it's like you don't have to do that. You
Mm-hmm.
have to figure out some other things first before you can even start to think about that. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's advice like, let me put all this academic pressure on you when you're still trying to focus how to figure out some other things in your life. So like, um, I agree. I think that um, that pressure is it's something that you always got to navigate. You know, you get it from your boss, you get it from your parents, you get it from your teachers, you get it from your peers sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to figure out, is this pressure healthy? Is this am I making my decisions based on these outer forces? You know,
Right.
but yeah, I agree.
And if you don't spend time with yourself, you don't know the difference between outside forces and yourself. It's impossible. I find this also applies to writing a song. You know, when I try and write a song and I try and force it to be this thing, like, yo, I need a dance hit, I need to make it hit. Trash. Trash.
That is a fact. I don't think anybody works like that.
No.
I don't know anybody like I don't know. I don't. I've never heard a story of someone that said like, "I gotta make a hit that's like this. I gotta make something that's like this," and then they made it. Like I never heard any. I don't think I really heard it. The closest thing to that is like let's say like I love the story of I like P Diddy and Bad Boys where they're like they kind of knew what sound they wanted to create. You know,
Mm-hmm.
samples they wanted to take from. They knew what kind of like what they were making. So like maybe that, but like that's kind of like you went searching for your sound and you found it and you started to create, or even
Yeah,
like
that's a vision. That's not necessarily like it needs to be in this exact spot. You know, that's like
yeah,
a general direction.
you
Yeah.
can't like, and I find that all the time spent thinking like that, you could have made five incredibly beautiful songs within
Mm-hmm.
spent trying to make that one that you're not gonna really like that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to just let myself write whatever. Like, okay, I thought I was gonna write some up tempo, but whatever, I'm not feeling anything. And then you just make something random. Just make something random. Follow the open doors, you know. And then once you get that out the way, oh, I found this other sound. Do that and just keep going, keep following those open doors, and then that dance song or whatever you were trying to do will reveal itself to you through that process. So just because it's like that's not the door you were trying to walk through doesn't mean that the door that's open doesn't lead you back to that door. It just may not come at the right time that you're thinking it needs to happen. So
Right. I started to realize like as writers, we're kind of like poets. You know, like like
right.
a poet, they just write. They have their book with them. They write. They write about their experiences. sometimes like, and every poet has their style, and they sometimes mix it up. Like you'll see like onomatopoeias in their stuff, and like exclamated like things, or things that are like really intellectually written, like this feels like this is like I don't know, written in, this looks like Plato wrote this, but then there's other times it's like it looks like he literally wrote what the guy at the meat market just told him, so like I think that uh poets have, I think good poets have freedom,
Hmm.
and they just kind of, they're, I think a good poet can take something in and put it out in their own way without putting too much thought into it.
Mm.
You so I think in a similar way, when it comes to writing, I think it's important to try to do that, because you're gonna fail. You're gonna have times where it's like, man, I want to write. I had this crazy experience, or I had this crazy breakup, or this crazy connection with someone. I don't know, and I want to just write about it. And
Hmm.
sometimes you look back and you find some gems in there. Sometimes you look back and you're like, well, that's not gonna lead to anything.
Right.
But you only get better at that by doing it more, I think.
I
You know.
agree. I agree. And get more comfortable with it. Like riding your bike. I mean, oh, this all sounds cliche, but it's like kind of it's good to remind yourself of it and like really understand like yeah, that is what it's like. Kind of connect these things to past and present and future experiences.
Hmm.
I yeah, I find that I feel like that's in your music. I really do. I think that's probably why we saw each other and I was like, "Oh yeah, this makes sense." And like you
Yeah.
said, it doesn't always happen on the shows. You know what I'm saying? Like you play a lot of shows and it's like, this is
Right.
great, but like, But
Yep.
I really appreciate that you're able to get that out in your music and in your performances, which a lot of people also don't understand. The two separate things. You know,
Yeah,
like your recording self and then your live performance self don't
bro.
always translate.
That's so hard. I think that oh man, especially now with like I feel like, I know I feel that pressure sometimes with like kind of like with playlisting, that's the new thing now. And it just, and even like I was just listening to somebody, I was listening back to somebody freestyling, or a song where someone was talking about like type beats,
Hmm.
like became a thing where like someone puts like a Kendrick Lamar type beat.
Mm-hmm.
Like new
Oh
thing
yeah.
now, they're like, they're not doing their own thing. They're trying to. I mean, I think this it's probably always been like that, but I think it's even more so now, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna make a Cuddy type beat. I'm gonna make a whatever. Like people are just fitting into molds, and just trying to, market. Trying to be good marketing, in a market sense. And so I think that now it's kind of hard to uh it's hard because you have to you got to pay attention, like you know what is your, as for you and I think, our performances, I know when I perform my song can be like 7 minutes long.
Mm.
I don't, I could be jamming on it, I could solo on it, but I know in the, my studio version, I might have to trim some fat. I might have to, how do I figure out how to make this translate, not only just for someone who's just popping in the earphone. I have to think about that experience, or someone that's listening in this car, but also how do I, how's the music fit into today? You know,
Right.
I
Right.
can't comp-
Right.
I can't completely, live under a rock and just make make what I make, and not, not be in touch with what's happening around me. So like, there's a lot of pressure when it comes to that, and I feel like um I think now is for myself. I think because I've been, I can't perform as much as I was, starting to
Mm-hmm.
make me focus on, oh, maybe there's some things that I haven't done sonically, or some things that I haven't
Mm.
done, or things that I need to develop, um, studio wise or just recording wise that
Mm-hmm.
can help complement what I do in a live sense too. But yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
worlds, and I don't think people always realize. I don't think people, people who don't that don't make the music don't realize that that you have to make music for this making music for the stage and for the studio are two different things. It's not one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And when you try and make them to be both, it usually doesn't translate. Almost
It's
every time, it doesn't translate. Back in Motown days, it did translate, but now, no way.
it's hard. I
Yeah.
think I'm trying to think of someone who does that well. Um, but um, like I was actually today I was listening to so much Bobby Caldwell, which I love.
Yo, that guy is that where you been?
There's that um, I forget what it's called, but it's that Blue album with Do for Love, what you won't do for
What
love,
you
and
won't do?
his classic today, and I was just like, there's a lot of the same instrumentation through these songs. The
Mm-hmm.
songs instrumentation. He does feature like a kalimba through a lot of the album, but and I kind of sometimes I kind of want to do that, especially because it makes me not have to, um, it makes me get more in tune with my setup sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But today it's hard. You have to have variety. You have to have some. That's almost a concept album. When you do something like that, that's
Yup.
where So like, um, I think like I know with my last project, I kind of challenged myself to do that. How can I use this kind of? I just want to use live instrumentation. I don't know that I want to get too experimental with maybe some experimental sounds and or synthesized sounds. I want to have organic instruments. From that, um, then I can figure out how to be creative with it so that it gives so that it doesn't feel like the same track all the time.
Right.
You
Right.
know. But I agree, man. I think that's such a tricky thing. I think at least
Right.
for my I don't, and I think when I started producing, I was thinking like that. I was getting trippy. I was on some Kanye. Kanye is such a like innovative producer where like I'm gonna use sounds from everything, from
Right.
whatever I'm listening. Um, but when I look back at some of the stuff I was doing, I was like, that doesn't really fit for me. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really. It was fun to do that, but I don't know. So actually, as of late, I've been kind of getting back to that sometimes and just having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Getting it, maybe I'll come up with something that like this doesn't fit for me. I don't think right now it doesn't speak to me, but it might be something that someone else can take and run with it. So, but yeah, I think that's something that's a very interesting facet. Like, how do I get especially as a live musician, how do I incorporate these other sonic experiences, into my stage performance and my studio performance.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, man. Well, I'm excited to see what you do live next Sunday. Is it this
Yeah.
Sunday? It's next Sunday. Man, March just flew right by us, bro. I don't know what
It's
happened.
been almost, I think, what's today? Really? Today's
Today's
the,
the 19th.
it's been, I want to say it's been like literally a month since I last, I mean, a month, a year since I last seen.
Yeah, I think.
It, it was March. It was because I remember the lockdown started like March 15th.
Yup. It
And so
was.
it was right around the time. So
Yup.
yeah, man, I really pray that things get back to normal. I need to come up there and see you again. Like I know
Come
that,
through. That'll be.
like
Yeah.
I it's not every day that I meet people like you who are just, let alone super talented, just good writers and just genuine people. I think I get that right off the bat when I met you, even for that brief time. So hopefully next time I see you, there's not a pandemic going on.
For real though. For real though. Oh man, maybe our meeting caused the no, but yeah,
I was
dog.
thinking,
That's for real. We're
I
cursed,
was down because like I said, it started in New York, right?
right?
And then and I came from New York, and I came up there. I was like, yo, maybe that's what. Like, you did you see if you seen the South Park special? You seen
Not
the
yet, and I love South Park, but I
oh
don't. I've been reluctant to get HBO package.
I ain't gonna spoil it for you, but like
Okay.
like I was just like, oh shoot, I was going around from all these states, probably carrying something with me. I don't know.
Patient zero. No, it was fine. It was fine, dog. But yeah, bro. Next time we get to play in person, hopefully. One thing I love about this live stream quarantine stuff is that we can collaborate,
Yeah,
being
yeah, absolutely.
across the world, which is dope. So
If you ever want to do something like this, I'll maybe I this makes me want to find a way to get you, incorporated with me and do something like this again because it is a blessing, like to
right,
be able to like this is something that is kind of simple to do. We just haven't done it, so I think that and it's so fulfilling. I think I'm happy I'm seeing you, man. I'm happy.
same, same. This is cool, and then we get to chat it up because we didn't even get to chat it up there because
No,
everybody was like,
I gotta go.
yeah.
Oh my
So this
god.
is a good first talk, man. This is great. I'm excited for the
Yeah.
next one. We gotta hang sometime, and then yeah, man, I'm excited for March 28th. Checking
Me
out your
too.
set,
Thank you
and
for
then
having me, bro.
absolutely,
I'm
I'm
honored.
honored, bro. All
I'm
right.
honored.
Well, I'll let you get to your night. Thank you for being here. I
No, doubt.
um I will hit you up soon.
Please, please.
All right.
All right, later.
Peace.